Last summer was probably one of the worst summers of my life. I got multiple injuries, I had a death in the family, and I had to go the entire season without any air conditioning. And now, before you say anything about the AC thing, I would like to note that I live in a very tiny apartment on the top floor of the building, and there's only a tiny window in it for any sort of air circulation. And all of the heat of the entire building would rise up and transform my apartment into like a total sauna. And it was just like a brutally hot summer, and as a result I basically couldn't sleep at night, so I was just sort of in a fugue state for the entire summer. But anyway, the AC thing and the injuries sort of intersect in a way that is relevant to today's video, because basically one night I wanted to go to the movie theater in order to get out of my apartment. I saw that a Miku Who Can't Sing was showing at my local theater, and while I wasn't super familiar with Miku lore at the time, I knew that the Miku character was wholesome and it seemed like it would be a fun movie. Basically, I knew of Miku from some of the more viral songs, but I couldn't name a single other character, etc. And I didn't even know at the time that the movie was actually kind of an adaptation of a video game. So beforehand, I was cooking dinner and the pot needed to simmer for like 20 minutes, so I started to clean up. I was moving things around, putting stuff away, etc. And one of the things I was cleaning up was a dry erase board that I used to keep track of tasks and dates and stuff. I had never gotten around to properly hanging it up, so I sort of just placed it around the apartment as I used it. But anyway, what matters is I set it down on the counter for a moment and it immediately fell on my toes. And you know when you stub your toe or something like that and it hurts really bad, but then you take off your sock or whatever and the toe seems fine? Like you're totally convinced that you annihilated your toe because it hurts so bad, but then your toe is just like, meh, whatever. Well, I assumed that this was like that, and it was one of those moments where you kind of hold your breath and scrunch up your face in pain, and then I looked down and it was just a horror show. I'm talking like broken bones, broken toenails, and lots of blood. I'll spare you any other details beyond that, but yeah, it was really bad. So even though I had been looking forward to seeing this movie all day, I had to go to an urgent care clinic instead. But something kind of funny happened as a result of this. Basically, as I was sitting in the waiting room, bleeding all over the floor, and then while I was being treated, I started to develop basically some sort of parasocial relationship with a Miku who can't sing. It wasn't quite a parasocial relationship with Miku, but it also wasn't that. But again, it was more like I coped with this bad situation by being like, no matter what, I am going to see this movie. I didn't even know if there were any other showings of it, but it became like a mission in my mind. I basically had the same attitude that someone else might have if they're like, oh, I'm not gonna let my friends down. I'm gonna drive across multiple states in order to be at their band's show or something like that. I was determined, and I felt like I owed it to the movie in a really weird way. So anyway, there was one more showing, and it was super early in the morning the next day. So as an aside, I previously didn't like going to movies during the morning or the day, since it always felt sort of funky to leave a movie theater when it was still bright out. I don't know, I guess it just sort of felt like you were wasting a beautiful day by being in a dark room. So before this, I was like an unwavering movies are for the nighttime kind of guy. But yeah, despite this, I woke up early, struggled to put my socks on, felt a lot of pain putting my shoes on, and then limped my way to my car and drove myself to the theater. And I'm not joking when I say that the pain of putting my foot in what was likely too small of a shoe made me feel kind of feverish, but I was determined. I was going to see this movie no matter what. So I get to the movie, and I should note that this was one of the first times I'd been back to the theater since COVID. It wasn't like I had been avoiding them, it was more like they just kind of fell off of my radar. So I was kind of surprised to see that the actual theater space was kind of small. There was maybe 30 seats total. But yeah, I get into the movie theater, I sit down, then I realized I really needed water since I was in so much pain. So I got back up, went out into the lobby, got water, and then saw some cosplayers entering the theater in Miku outfits. Again, I think I was kind of delirious from the pain and from the lack of sleep, but for some reason this felt like a transcendent experience. It was like I had found a safe space where everyone in the theater was ready to see Miku on the big screen, so there wouldn't be any judgments, etc. And it was actually a really cool and comforting experience. The movie itself was actually really good and a lot better than I was expecting. I'll admit that I didn't fully understand all of the lore since, again, a lot of the characters were actually from the game, so they didn't really introduce them in the movie. The movie kind of expects you to know this stuff already, but seriously, the movie was all about finding your creative voice and believing in yourself and your friends and like the beauty of making music and the impact of music, and I left feeling so inspired. Something about it just clicked with me, and it was a huge dose of positivity that I really needed at that point. And mind you, this was early on in the year, so it was before things even got that bad over the summer. But yeah, it just super inspired me, and in a way, it was sort of one of the motivating factors for me making this channel. I remember wanting to discuss the movie and sort of do a literary analysis of it, and even though I've never actually gotten the chance to do one on a Miku Who Can't Sing, it was very much on my mind when I made this channel. But yeah, after that I started going to as many anime movie showings as I could, and they all felt just as inspiring. The actual animation is such a beautiful art form, and you can really appreciate the music and the voice acting with the loudspeakers. My favorite part, however, is how so many of these movies end on an uplifting note. They almost always end with the characters having a newfound appreciation for life, or a newfound sense of adventure, or a newfound family, etc. And it's just like the best feeling in the world to watch one of these movies and then head out into the world with sort of this new sense of energy and purpose. I've been able to see movies like The Girl Who Loved Through Time, Summer Wars, Wolf Children, and then on sort of the opposite end of the spectrum, I was able to see like the Reze arc and different ones like that. But I think one of my favorite movies that I've seen in this sort of vein of positivity and stuff was All You Need Is Kill. And based on the title, I thought this was going to be kind of a dark one. And I like going into movies blind, so I didn't know much about it, but it was actually like a really colorful movie, and it ended on a really uplifting, inspiring note. This year, however, there really haven't been any anime movie showings at my local theater, and now that it's the summer again, I've been craving it so badly. I keep thinking to myself, if I could just go and see an anime movie early in the morning and then head outside to a beautiful day, everything would just fall in place. But yeah, that's sort of all I really wanted to say on this topic. I kind of just wanted to make a video expressing my appreciation for Miku Who Can't Sing, and then also just for sort of the experience of seeing an animated movie on the big screen. I'm just feeling really nostalgic for it, and I just kind of wanted to talk about it. But yeah, that's going to wrap up today's video. So take care, and I will see you in the next one.